Yo, what up? Welcome to another show of the Commanders draft coverage. Yes, the draft has already happened, but we have film review for all of our players that we selected in the 2024 draft. We're going to talk a little bit about each one of them. We're also going to talk about our initial reactions to the draft and how all of these shows led up to what our thought process was and what actually happened from the show. And sad to say, this is the draft cover show. So that means like there's not another draft until 2025. So this is going to be our last show. But we had a great time, learned a lot, and looking forward to next year's draft cover show, which might start a little earlier. But this was a ball. Learned a lot, especially about film, how to watch film, the basis of watching film, what matters, what doesn't matter, and all different types of things. So if you didn't get a chance to catch a lot of the shows, go back. We're gonna have some downtime periods before training camp really gets to kicking. I know we got OTAs a few days coming up, but just take some time to go back and watch. We posted a lot of clips, and some of those clips we posted some players, especially one and Ben Sanat, which we all got our guy. But we definitely gonna talk about that on the other side of this. We'll get to the film review. And again, sad to say, but this is live draft coverage of 2024. Welcome back to the Commanders draft show. I'm Deuce. We got DT, who's down in Jacksonville. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got swimming trunks on, or you got like, I mean, what's going on? You coming straight from the pool?
Not yet. We're going to do that Tuesday. We're going to do that Tuesday, man.
Cool. Cal, how you doing, buddy?
I'm like Superman, dude, running down here. I'm doing great. It's been a beautiful day. I got a lot of film look through today, so I feel productive.
This is gonna be a good one. Adam, my guy, how you doing, buddy? Oh, you muted.
So this was a good drive for me.
Yeah, start over at Adam. He's muted.
I said it was a good draft for me. 30 reports, and 3 of those players ended up at Washington. So it's a good draft for me.
Yes, sir.
Hopefully we could get at least 3 hits from this drive. Hopefully, right?
Right.
All right. So look, we know like we had we had such a good time. I know I definitely did. With this show being our first year doing this draft cover show. So we can do the sentimental stuff now because all of us is gonna have to leave shortly before we end. So we can get that out the way now. I love you guys. Thank you so much for joining us, coming on and doing this and contributing to Red Zone Lab. We definitely appreciate y'all. I learned so much from you guys, man, and I just love it. So a lot of my takes concerning film review and all that, I'm just stealing from you guys. So that's my sentimental piece. I said the little gushy crying stuff on the other end. I want to put that out there. I don't want to cry. Anybody can go next.
No, but seriously, Deuce, thank you for organizing this because I felt like I was falling behind in the draft scouting, just with everything. I was trying to buy a house and moving states and everything, but you doing this, getting the collab together, forced us to do more homework. It forced us, like I typically don't do a top 10, right? But like you requesting it like forced you to actually do more and actually do more research instead of just looking at what media was projecting, actually going through and having a good idea of what's going on. So as much as you want to thank us, I mean, I want to thank you, dude, for coming up with the idea and doing this, because you really getting Adam on here was really the making this go to another level. I mean, Adam talking about him having 3 of his top 30s in there. I mean, it just goes to show how good Adam is at this.
Yeah. Shout outs to Deuce for putting this on, and also having me up here with guys like Kyle and Adam. I always love watching college football, and I always love this talk about players where they were and what they can become. And I think that's the beauty about this show is we all come together and we talk about some of the things that we like about players, some things they can work on, and then you see it come draft day. Like Adam said, we drafted 3 of the players that he did reports on. Like that is truly amazing in this business. I love this. We definitely have to do this again a little bit earlier, but it's a test run and stuff. And so far, this show has done a great job with you guys. Love you guys like brothers.
I'll tell you what, the kicker is Mike Sarenstill, because Adam was the first one to bring up Mike Sarenstill. And I will say that kid is popping off. And the fact that they took him in the second round just shows you how much they really did like him.
I think working with you guys kind of, I don't know, I think there was a point where I was almost going to stop, take a break for a while, just things have just been so chaotic. But what I realized is this is what kind of keeps my mind right from, going off the deep end mentally sometimes. So I appreciate you guys. And again, like you said, getting, I've had the most I had was one, the draft with Hal and with the one with Patterson, and, Patterson was undrafted, but to have 3 guys drafted, JD aside, I think a lot of people had that, but still, to have Sanat and Sandstrill, that was big for me. So it's just more motivation for this next draft, because we're expecting at least 150 to 200 more prospects next year, because the NIL deal is kind of, and then the extra 5th year of eligibility. So it's going to be even a bigger draft next year as far as more prospects. So looking forward to that.
All right, let's get into it. Let's try to knock some of these comments out. Carlton, what's good, my guy? Chuck is in the building. Troy, what up? Chuck, sure. He gotta get that 0.
Oh boy, I can't wait to New Jersey come out so people can stop talking about it, man.
No, if Mariota doesn't want to give it up, I've been on record saying, just cut him.
Hey, yo.
That's wild. All right, let's go right back to you, to Adam. The draft happened. Let's just talk about, just real quick about your overall view of the draft and what Adam Peters is going to, is that his blueprint, or is that like he's just testing the waters?
I think we haven't even seen close to a blueprint yet. I think just from looking how this draft shaped up, especially with the Newton pick, but to hear him say, as fans, we were saying, let's hope they trade up to get that tackle. He was talking about trading up to get Newton. So it wasn't only that Newton fell on our lap, he was high on their radar. So I think right now he doesn't really I think he has an idea of what he wants to do and what he wants to build. But right now, I think a lot of those picks were, best player available, just not need. Sandstrill, again, I wrote about him, love him. I was a little even surprised there, because I was thinking they were going to look at outside guys, because, in no world possible do I think, that they're satisfied with Forbes and St. Juice. But I think when you look at Sandstrill, you look at his tape, you see what he can do in the slot, but he can also do some good things as a single high free safety. So, we know how, even with Dan Quinn, they like to do those 3 safety looks. So I think that it just allows them more flexibility. And I think it probably speaks a little bit to maybe what they think of Forbes and St. Juice going forward. But again, we have another, wave of free agency. Maybe they sign another corner. But I think this is indicative of, Sandstrill. I think he's going to play early. Same with Benson. I think they're going to play early. And that's what you want to see with those early, draft picks. JD, there's no chance that Mariota is starting over him. So, those first 3-4 picks, they're all starting on day 1. So that is ideally what you want to see in a draft. And if you can get players you feel comfortable with those first 3 or 4 picks, initially I gave it a B, because again, I wanted to see, that tackle, but I understood what happened. You don't reach on Paul when you have guys, the 7th, 8th, 9th tackle, when you have, the second or third corner. And, in my opinion, with Sanat, the second best tight end on the board. Yep. So I understand exactly what they did. They didn't, panic, Coleman, I'm looking forward to chopping up his film because, again, you see that 2023 RAS score really good, but that's a guard. So I'll watch a game or two of that 2023, but I'm looking at 2022 when he started the whole season most of the season at left tackle. So I'm looking forward to that. But right now, I've already gone up to a B plus just because after seeing Newton, people are like, Washington's set. I don't get it. You have Allen and Payne. They're not set. You know what I mean? That's a moving position. I see Payne a little more long term. I honestly think this is Allen. We could even hit the trade deadline depending on how Newton plays, and they can move him. But I think we're gonna see some exotic looks, and Newton is gonna be every bit as used as Sinat and Sandstrill and JD are.
DT.
Yeah. So this draft, obviously, excluding quarterback, everything about this draft was very excellent for Adam Peters, his first run as a GM. I definitely see the formula of coming from where he was at for the 49ers and some of the other teams. Even though there are some needs on this team, when you have guys like Johnny Newton on the board, like literally a probably top 15 to top 30 player, there's no way in the world you can't skip on that. And understanding the situation with the defensive line, two highly priced defensive tackles, eventually there's going to be conversations about restructuring or eventually moving one of these guys out of it and having a young guy that could be for the future long term. And we've seen it with the 49ers the past couple of years. They still invest in defensive line regardless. They have Nick Bosa and guys like that. But getting a guy like Sanat to be in the tight end room, getting a guy like Sandra still to help the defense, and you can have some flexibility with Quan Martin playing the free safety role or wherever you want to do with him. Hampton from Washington being the Javon Curse for this defense, and Coleman. Coleman, that's been kind of a touchy topic. You see, 2022, he's played teams like Michigan and Georgia. He looks very good, but for some reason, in 2023, he had to play guard. I think he's a high ceiling player. We'll see how that goes through training camp and the season. But overall, I like this class. I'm definitely going to give it an A for Adam Peters. I understand people were kind of mad about not trading up, but look, in order to trade up, you got to have a dance partner. And people just didn't want to dance with the Commanders in the first round for them to get a tackle.
And I'll say this about I asked like around as many people as I knew, that I could DM whatever. And it was all came to the same conclusion. It wasn't that there wasn't trading partners. Those 2025 draft picks are highly coveted. And, the teams in that first round, they were looking, even if teams were offering a second round this year, they wanted to get a third, fourth round next year. And that was part of what the big turnoff was.
Definitely.
Yeah, Kyle. I know Ben Steiner reported that we tried to move up in the teens, but no dice. So how you feel about the draft?
I absolutely loved it. I think going into this, that they had a plan. And I think that the plan was using the coaches' input into what they want to do. And also what they were putting into place mimics what they want to do. Like Brandon Coleman being one of the most athletic offensive linemen, comparable to Trent Williams, shows you that with Cliff Kingsbury's offense, and with Jaden Daniels, they want to move the ball. They want to attack the edges. They want to hit the boundaries. And having the athletic kind of tackle makeup makes sense there. And then with Ben Sinnott, this makes a heck of a whole lot of sense, just given with what they're adding in here, just saying that you can help Jaden Daniels middle of the field, and then Luke Caffrey in the same breath, being that big body in the middle of the field, helping Jaden Daniels explain a lot. And then the Jordan McGee pick with Ken Norton talking about it and saying that he really liked him. I think what this shows is Adam Peters obviously having an eye for talent, and I think highlights are important. Because each one of these guys you watch, you see highlights. And like Johnny Newton is a walking highlight reel. It's absolutely insane. Almost every single play, he's blowing crap up. And so when you're looking at this, I'm like looking at it and saying, this makes sense. Because in years past, I would do these film breakdowns pre-draft, and we'd pick guys and be like, it's kind of a head scratcher. But now that you see the draft, you see who they picked, you go back and watch, and you're like, okay, that makes sense. And for the first time, it seems like there is a good relationship between front office and the coaches on who they want to coach and who we feel comfortable with taking. And I think that was probably the big issue with trading up or not, is that essentially, is it worth it?
Yep. Before we get started, Adam, you want me to share this screen?
Sure, yeah.
The rookie card? Okay.
Yeah, sure.
More and more content. Like we can, as far as the Commanders content creators are, you can't say you don't have information when it comes to the Commanders. Like DT and I are around a lot of people on Twitter, and there are not, in different fan bases, there's not as many as it is with us. So we have tons of information. We got any style that you want, like any rowdy like whatever you want, there's content out there. There's content out there for you for sure. All right, let's get right to it. Okay, Adam, what we got here, Adam?
Okay, so pre-draft, I did those scouting report cards where just 100% scouting report, outlook where I think they could be drafted, blase. This new series is looks like I get a little typo here. I gotta fix it. But what I'm doing right now is I'm not only taking the drafted players, I'm going to go back and forth. I'm going to go with the drafted players and undrafted and go back and forth. So I'm going to hit as many of the undrafted guys and then all of our draft picks this summer going into training camp. And what I'll do is I'll not only scouting report on this, I'll have an outlook on Washington. Like when we talk about Newton, I just put Newton out. Just some ways that I think that, he could be used, just people I've talked to, ideas like I mentioned about, talks about, having a 3-4 base. Just things like that. So each card is going to be customizable to, what I think for the outlook and then, the basic scatter reports. But I'll have that page at the Burgundy and Gold Report.com. Just clickable cards, takes you right there.
Bigger picture of it.
I like that.
Yeah, that's cool, man. That's cool. Well, Adam, let's get right into
this. Is going to be so much fun.
Yeah, let's get right into he gave himself a name. Like what name did he give himself? I forgot what it was. Didn't he? Is it Germander or something?
Yeah, Germander. Yeah.
Germander, which is cool. All right, let's get right into him. I mean, we take them. The fan base go crazy because they don't know that everybody's looking for a tackle, and we did get a tackle. We just got a defensive tackle. And it took people a few hours to come around to the pick. But what you got for him, Adam?
The thing that just jumps out with Newton, like how many defensive tackles, number one, do you see that blocks 4 kicks in one season? So it's like not only do you have that uber athletic profile, when I talk about Thor Nystrom of Fantasy Pros, he's a guy that's really climbing up the ladders on all the major shows. He was on with Doug, and when we were talking about him, we said, what separates him? Because we talk about the Texas tackle who went before him. He said, again, that's all about preference because, this guy is the best 3-tick, straight up 3-technique defensive tackle in this draft. And, what he said about him, and I mentioned in the article, it's just very unorthodox, twitchy, agile, 3-technique kind of guy. So he's not, if you can watch him, just the way he plays, like he's not long like a defensive end, but he certainly moves like one. He doesn't have that bend, but he just uses that brute force. And as I mentioned in the report, it's the counters that separate him from other defensive tackles. So you're talking about coming into the NFL. He's got a leg up, I think, out of all the rookies, number one at his position. But, he's going to be going against a lot of guards that he's going to beat off the snap right away. Issue with him is going to have to watch, just that quick motor comes with, a little impatience. He jumps the snap, got some penalties last year. So definitely going to have to live with that early on because he's always trying to get this jump off the snap. That's one of his, best attribute. But a movable chess piece, like I said, no matter what front they are, he can play inside, he can play outside. So I think it's just going to be a lot of fun to watch, watching him attack the ABC gaps, everything, just, stunts, twists. I think they're just going to have a lot of fun with him.
Good God Almighty.
This guy, my goodness. Go ahead, DT.
Man, look, I mean, I don't know what's in Illinois, but we need to start just keep going there. I mean, the defensive talent they had the past couple of years is ridiculous. This guy is just an athlete at defensive tackle. And when I see his game, I think of two guys. I think of Jahan Hargrave, when he came out of South Carolina State, and I also think about Geno Atkins based on the size and explosiveness when in the run game and pass game.
Geno's a great pull.
That power,
that power, the ability.
Look how he walk up to the line.
How he walks up like a linebacker.
My goodness, I'm dropping my stuff. I'm excited about this guy, man. Go
He's
ahead.
going to
Yeah.
be one of the best players in the draft. And also,
And just think about the packages that you can
Look.
have now. Like, you could potentially put Deron Payne or Allen against tackles, and
Right.
tackles are going to have a tough time dealing with the power that those guys are going to have. And then you got Baby Gino. I'm going to call him Baby Gino because he reminds me of Gino.
he does.
He can just destroy a center and a guard like that. I'm excited for this pick. Immediately when we drafted him, usually in the past, I was like, oh my God, why we do that? But knowing the talent that you have with him, it just automatically shows the versatility, and it just tells offensive lines and offensive coordinators that Washington is going to have a plan. I just don't know what they're going to do with these guys. We got to be prepared, and we have to dial up against them.
Man,
He's a bad man.
Pump fake or nothing. He goes straight to the ball carrier. Look at this. Look,
Pump
Pump ain't do nothing. Look, Pump
He's-
ain't do nothing. Oh my goodness.
It's that foot injury. That foot injury, and some teams really had him low on the board because of his size. That's all I heard. I heard other than in the foot injury, it's not a long-term thing. It's not a habitual thing, and it really confused a lot of scouts I talked to. They said they don't understand. It's how the draft panned out. It was just so many offensive players that it just pushed him, because you talk about maybe next year's draft, he'd be a solid top 10 pick. Everyone I talked to says starting defensive tackle day one, you could move around. Not many guys come out like this every year.
Can I go now?
Yep.
I am so excited about this guy. Back in the day when I scouted Justin Jefferson in that draft, I saw this level of elite play from Justin Jefferson. I was on record saying, could he be the next Odell Beckham? That's a very good chance. With Newton, I got that same exact vibe. The weaknesses in his game are very, very small. What I will say in a concern is that maybe he comes off with too high of pad level at times. And you can kind of see that in the goal line, short yardage situations. But that if you're saying that that's only the weakness of his game, that's incredible. He has a high motor. He uses his rip moves to an elite level. He uses swim moves. He has a bull rush that is honestly just knocks guys over onto their butt that you'll see here in a minute. But the fact I called him, my nickname for him was John McClane. If you're a big fan of Die Hard, like that play you saw earlier, him walking up to the line of scrimmage, you can just hear him saying yippee-ki-yay. He's ready to get after the quarterback, and he is ferocious in all aspects. The funny thing is, the film breakdown I uploaded of him, I wrote in there that he blocked 4 kicks. I read that on NFL.com. He actually responded and said it was 5.
Oh,
okay.
really?
Yeah, and I was like, okay, sorry. I'm sorry,
that's
Johnny.
What I like. I love that.
Yeah, and I was like, I'm sorry, Johnny. NFL.com lied, brother. I'm sorry, dude.
Wow.
But also,
every stat line lied. Even his team site did.
Exactly. And so, looking at him and knowing that he's a high motor guy, he does go to the boundaries. He chases stuff down. Even in the run game, what's beautiful about him is he knows how to use his hands, and his hands are incredibly strong. So if he's got a blocker on him, you'll see guys just falling everywhere where he is because he is just screwing with them. And that's what I really like about this guy. DT kind of talked about it already. We know that Dan Quinn is creative. He likes to move his guys around. So you imagine that you have to go against Dorrance Armstrong, Jonathan Allen, Deron Payne, and Newton on a 4-man front. Yeah, you could say maybe that's a little bit slower in speed getting out to the quarterback, but imagine having to run on that.
I'm literally getting chills. Like if I could do the whole rock, the rock. Watch how after the disengage. Watch the burst, Kyle. Look,
boom.
Look at the burst from the disengage. That is insane.
And Deuce, I'm telling you, it's every single play, bro. It's every single play. The only play that doesn't happen is when he's double teamed. And tell me that you can double team Newton with Jonathan Allen and Deron Payne on the field.
Right, you can't. He's going to get one-on-one coverage all year if they're on the field.
And that's exactly what Illinois' game plan was. What they would do is they would overload fronts, and so he would be isolated on a guard. And then he just goes to town on the guard and goes to work. And that's the beautiful thing about him. And Adam already kind of talked about it. You see him in the 3-tech, but he also does it in the 5-tech on the outside, going against tackles and showing that his rip move, getting around the outside, being able to collapse the pocket, and even helping out his teammates get sacks here. The run game is also another thing here where he clogs guys up, throws guys off, and tackles the running back. So the weaknesses in his game, they're very, very small. That's why Adam Peters was so freaking excited to get this guy, because there is nothing that you can really say that you're like, okay, he's going to be a detriment to us. He has the work ethic. He has shown the ability to get after the quarterback, to stop the run, even be produced on special teams. This is a home run hit.
His burst.
And that's why, like, when I put on Twitter before I uploaded his film breakdown, I sent the tweet out, "Are you guys ready?" Because I wasn't even expecting it. What I saw on film, I walked away saying, "Oh my goodness." I even messaged Adam about it. I was like, dude, this is insane. Just because of how good this guy is. Sky's the limit for this young man. And adding him into the room with Deron Payne and Jonathan Allen, already stars at their positions, this is going to be a lot of fun. And I think the Commanders fans and all of us are going to, I don't think that we truly know what's in store for this defense.
Man, don't forget Dorrance Armstrong. When he was at Dallas, he was playing some defensive tackle as well, too. I'm just going to say this. Y'all remember when Deron Payne literally had a whole drive to himself where he stopped Denver?
Yep.
I expect some drives from dude to do that this year, bro.
And one thing you got to remember, Newton is going to make these guys play harder. I'm telling you right now, especially Allen, because I think Payne, there's more people even in the organization. There's whispers that, he's more of a long-term thing. I think, it's like Allen, like this is your year. You're average. You're probably gone. So like nothing better than having a guy like this breathing down your neck. Cause I think it's going to be great competition, and they're going to be, they're going to be incorporating all three of them.
And the best part about Newton is that he gave himself the Germander nickname. And after he was drafted, he was already talking crap to Cowboys fans, saying that they were clowns and stuff. He is the perfect fit for Washington, dude. I mean, to a T.
Yeah, he's the vocal leader they don't have, because Allen, I think he was like that for a while, but they need a new age. This is a new age voice, and this guy was a captain. So I think, within 2 years, he's going to be one of the defensive captains. He's just not a quiet guy. Like, all the guys at the Draft Network I talk about who have, interviewed him, and like they couldn't shut him up, and they're like, that's usually with the interviews. It's like, yes, sir, and this and that. He's the complete opposite.
And just to put in the grand scheme of things, like we talked about Dan Quinn being creative and putting those four guys onto the field at one time, but now add in the ability of Bobby Wagner being the leader that he is, Frankie Louvu, Jeremy Chin being on the field. You're adding some freaking athletes that like to get out to the quarterback. And so you just imagine it's going to be a heat-seeking missile at any point in time, somebody coming up and being able to hit you in the chin strap, a bunch of guys that are angry. And I love the island of misfit toys, because Johnny Newton right now is pissed off that he fell to the second round. Yeah. And that's what we have. We have a bunch of pissed off dudes that are tired of losing, that are tired of having their name being disrespected, and they're ready to come in and go to work and honestly do some damage.
Cheddar Bob was good. Cheddar Bob. Hey, Miss Janet. Glenn was good. I'm buying Newton jersey. Yeah,
I am too now.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna. I am.
Oh, I can't wait to go watch his games. Get some NyQuil, dude. Cheddar Bob, Newton's get off, man. It's crazy. Yep, rotation. Oh man, it's gonna be nasty. They plan to attack teams aggressively from all angles and get the front more. Man, bro, like
I love the word aggressive. I've been screaming that.
And they might believe that these three guys are opening up more opportunities for the edge rushers, because and we might do a lot of 3-4 fronts too. And they might be moving Jamin around and Luvu and all of those guys. So that may be why they didn't go edge high.
Oh my gosh, bro.
This is insane. All right, let's go to we don't this show don't need to do Ben Sinnott. Like y'all have heard so much about Ben Sinnott from this show. Y'all don't need to hear, but I do want to let Kyle get his "I told you so" off. There you go, Kyle.
I did. As soon as that trade went down, I was like, this is where the tight end is coming off the board.
Yep.
I truly felt that, and it turned out to be right, of course. And not even just the fact that they took the tight end, but they took Ben Sinnott, who Adam and I both, or I think all four of us, had Ben Sinnott listed as a number 2 tight end in this draft.
I did that first. I had Tay until y'all messed me up that one show.
I know, but like just in the fact that him having the Cooley comparisons and everything, it's the right fit for what this offense likes to do. And I know AJ had talked about not adding enough weapons for Jaden Daniels, but looking at it, and I think my co-host Hall made a great point, the defense being better this year is going to be a lot of help to Jaden Daniels actually getting off the field defensively so the offense has more to work with. I think that's going to go a heck of a long way here. And getting Ben Sinnott, who operates in the middle field, who can operate from the backfield at any point in time, blocks very well. Never forget that highlight that Adam showed of Ben Sinnott on that sweep on the backside running over the
that goal
DB.
line.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Like it's not like he's going to be doing that against the ends and everything, but this is a dude that you can, like we talked about, attacking the edges, attacking the boundaries. You can do that with Ben Sinnott. And I'm really excited for the future of Jaden Daniels and this offense because we're putting the right pieces in place. And it's just, I messaged you guys as soon as that pick was made, we killed that tight end show. I mean, we truly did. We had it on the dot to a T. And I'm glad that they honestly felt the same way because we're looking at it and saying, we think this is the best guy and he fits with what they want to do. And they agreed with it. Awesome to see.
Yeah, to answer your question, AJ. Oh, and man, I would love to see some 5'2". Like 5'2", just it looks old school. We got 5 guys down in the dirt. Oh man, I would love to see that.
That's what I played in high school.
Yeah. Most of us did. Probably won't have 5'2s,
Yep.
you know, in the younger leagues. I think like I'm still holding to this. I believe if we would draft a tight end early with one of those top 100 picks, that it'll be Ertz going into the season. But like by week 6, you will see a turnover. It'll be more Ben. But I think Ben gets a lot of looks early. But I think by week 6 is when he kind of take over that tight end one. And you might not see Ertz as much because Bates is that inline blocker. So his snap counts is not going to change throughout the year. Like he's just going to be there. So it's not like a competition between Ertz and Bates. I think Bates is just that inline 2 tight end blocker. But I think as the season grows, we'll see less and less of Ertz, and I expect to see Benson.
And what it tells me too is it's not just about opening up the field with Sinnott compared to the other guys. In line, he's average right now. Like Kyle mentioned, his blocking out in space. That's what Daniels is going to need, blocking out in space, because when things are breaking down, things are going. That's who they're going to want. You know, you think about having guys like Robinson, having Sinnott, guys just out there block Terry McLaurin. You know, those 3 guys right there. You have those on the field. You're going pass, you're going run. So it's just going to allow them to do a lot more. So although they're going to open up the field, that's why Sinnott, I think, like you mentioned, Ertz will start, but I think it's going to be quick. I think it's going to be quick that they're showing that, you know, Sinnott can do a lot more in the open field. And I think once they show that, they're going to be a lot more of a running team, I think, that people expect. I think if they weren't going to go that way, the pick would have been McCarthy or May. I think with JD, what that tells me is they really, unlike last year, all the talk, there is going to be a true commit to the run. And who do you need? Chris Cooley was talking about himself. I was happy to listen to it. And he said, yeah, I see myself in him. He says, this guy looks like a true H-back fullback. And I think that's what
I know Joe Gibbs loves it. I know Joe Gibbs loves it.
That's what he said. That's what he said. He said Joe Gibbs would have loved this pick. Joe Gibbs probably would have traded up to first round to get him.
And to AJ's question about would Ertz start over Sinnott, the one thing about Cliff Kingsbury's offense is he does like to attack the seams. And Zach Ertz, at this moment in time, does he have the speed that you feel comfortable with being able to attack that middle seam? And that's where I would put Sinnott a little bit over that. We saw that one replay of Sinnott, that one highlight that he had where he's in the middle of the field, catches the football, is able to get to the boundary, jump over the dude and everything. That's what you're kind of looking at in this offense. So, yes, you can look at Ertz maybe in those 2 tight end sets of being able to have that check down ability because Ertz knows where to sit, knows where to be for the quarterback. But Sinnott just allows you that extra ability to separate at the next level that Ertz right now does not ultimately give you. And I'm sure that's what Adam is basically saying here is that, yes, Ertz does give you that safety blanket, but he doesn't give you that gas, that fire. And that's what Sinnott brings.
Sinnott is a creature of chaos. If you go look at the K-State tape, he was the leading, target there for everything for a reason, because that's just how that offense went. It was just kind of chaotic. But with this, like you said, with Daniels, I think it's just going to give him a lot more time to settle down, knowing that he has some guys, because that offensive line is going to be a work in progress. What do you do when your offense is a work in progress? You get a tight end that you can trust, that's strong, that's athletic, that can move. And this is the one, because out of all the other tight ends besides Bowers, to me, it wasn't even close. That's another reason we saw Sanders from Texas drop, because he's really a one trick right now until a team really develops him. Mm-hmm. But Sinnott, he's got a lot going. He's a master of nothing, a jack of all trades. But once they get him in there, and that's why you have a guy like Ertz. Ursh is going to turn him in to the tight end they need to. And I think going into this, they knew they were going to get a tight end high.
Very similar to Sam Laporta the year before.
Yep, that's exactly what everyone's talking about.
I'm putting a stamp on you'll see Cooley at training camp this summer.
Yeah.
And with Cliff Kingsbury
and the booty shorts.
We've seen the evolution of Cliff Kingsbury with his offense adding personnel.
Yeah.
And so the biggest thing is going to be for this stop, having a guy like Anthony Lynn and Brian Johnson, who coming from Philadelphia, Jalen Hurts, and Dallas Goedert.
Yeah.
What packages are having Kyle check, you see some use check in his game as well with Sanat. So you can see a lot of the options, some pistol movements, some shifts and stuff. I'm expecting a lot of things with Sanat to be used this year.
Yep, me too.
He's going to help Jaden Daniels in the middle of the field.
I can't wait. I just can't wait. Boski, what's good? Yep, we want to see what coaching matters. Glenn, 2 tight end set is going to be deadly. What's up, Will? How do you feel about the tackle positions? It was a big concern last year, but one thing that and Boski just he just said it, about coaching. How much do you put towards the bad O-line play last year to coaching for it being magnified the way that it was? How much of it was coaching? If they would have ran the ball 20% more overall over the year, would the line has looked as worse as it looked? You putting guys in positions to pass block 14, 15 times in a row, and they just not able to do it. So that's something that we got to look to. And it looks like this coaching staff didn't think that it was as much of a need as we did. I mean, we did hear the reports of them trying to trade back into the teams, but if they really believed we needed one, they would have paid whatever the cost was, and they decided not to. As a matter of fact, they didn't even go tackle rounds 1 or 2. So that goes to tell you that they're putting a lot on their ability to coach these guys up to move forward. But let's get into Sandra Steele real quick. Adam, let's start with you.
All right. So yeah, when I evaluated him back in February, best 2023 of any DB, not just cornerback in the nation. 2 sacks, 6 pass breakups, 6 interceptions, quarterback rating of 66.6. 551 snaps played. But what I love what he did at Michigan, I don't think I really mentioned in here, but I watched more tape even after I wrote this, is his ability to drop back in the single high free safety situation. Mm-hmm. So I think that, a lot of people are caught up in his height and they're like, he's small. That's everything that I heard after we drafted him, that they could have got one of the taller guys, but this is what they need. They believe that they needed a true, slot corner, but a slot corner that's not frail. Like you can see just the way he takes on hits. You know what I mean? He protects himself. He doesn't play reckless, but he's not a shoestring tackler. You see, like he welcomes the contact. So I think they really, again, a steal in him. 2023 CBS All-American. Anybody you talk to from Michigan says he was the heart of that team. I don't know. I've been a football fan for many years. I have not heard of a slot corner captain being the leader of the defense, and that's what they list.
Wasn't he calling plays?
He's a rare breed. He was helping. He was helping communication plays with the mic and all those. That's just the way their defense played. But he was heavy into getting the defensive backfield set up every play. So you can see, that's why I think was 5 of their picks were captains, 4 or 5 year players. And again, that's something that Ron Rivera did, blah, blah, blah. But I think this team actually has a plan with these guys. They're looking to bring in young guys, but they're looking for leadership. This guy, he's going to be the leader of the defensive backfield. I think Curl was itching on that for a while, just never really grabbed a hold of it. But I think Sancho, he's the guy that's going to lead this defensive backfield for the next 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, and the one thing that really popped off to me, Deuce, when watching his film was how much communication he does pre-snap with his teammates. Yeah. Being a wide receiver the first 3 years in college, and we talked to Ian Cummings, he said, well, he did play DB in high school, but playing DB in high school is vastly different than playing for Michigan at this level. In 1 year, he's communicating to other guys what to do pre-snap. Generally, typically, you're looking at a guy like that, and he's not going to be comfortable in that sort of situation. And then I saw this one, it's really stupid, but at the championship kind of parade, JJ McCarthy has the trophy in his hand. and there's space between him and Mike. And Mike is sitting over here, and JJ McCarthy actually throws the trophy to Mike, and Mike catches it. But just going to show you that little simple aspect, they're comfortable with him catching the football. He has the best hands on the team. And so when he does catch the football, like you see in this highlight, because he's a former wide receiver, he's electric. And you have to worry if he does have the football because he can take it back 6 with his wide receiver background, which just adds another layer here. You're adding a hard worker who is electrifying when he has the football in his hand. He communicates well. And he's also ferocious and a great teammate at that. Everyone is raving about this kid. And there's a very good reason why he was selected where he was. If you have Bill Belichick and Nick Saban literally jumping out of their seat to be able to say how great you are, there's a very good reason for that. And the one thing about Nick Saban and others, they know DBs. They're very good at being able to diagnose those guys, especially Bill Belichick.
Yeah, Saban was gushing over him. I've never heard him talk of, again, slot corner, a smaller slot.
Yeah.
You know, we've heard people talk about these big guys, big burly 6'1", 6'2", press corners. I've never, probably since the early 90s, have I heard slots talked about like him. It just goes to show you, and again, Kyle said it, his football IQ and his situational awareness. You see when he gets the ball in his hands, he just knows where to go. That's where the receiver ability comes in.
And one of the most awesome plays that I saw, I uploaded in our group chat, where he's on the outside and the wide receiver actually runs a double move on him, and he ran a 4.47. Somebody commented on my Twitter and said a 5'9" guy running a 4.47. But when you watch him on this double move, he plants his left foot and he stride for stride with the wide receiver, doesn't lose a freaking step. So yeah, he might run a 4.47 in a straight line, but even on the football field, it doesn't look like that. It looks like he has legitimate speed. He can actually play outside, be able to cover these guys. And then we've seen the hitting and then coming up making tackles. So when you're looking at the grand scheme of what this DB, what Joe Witt and Dan Quinn want to do, Mike Sarenstill fits everything that they want to do.
If we didn't have these Dallas coaches, I'd be like, good pick, but I think it's going to take some time.
Yep.
I think we're going to see immediate success with him because I think between Quinn and Witt, it proves in the pudding. Look what they did in Dallas, 2 consecutive years with virtual unknowns. Their big time corner got hurt. What happened? They have 2 other guys that step up and break, records 2 consecutive years.
And now add in Johnny Newton and everyone. Yeah.
It's gonna be crazy. Before you go, Adam, you wanna throw in anything with Luke?
With whom? Sorry,
Luke McCaffrey. Anybody else you want to throw in before you gotta?
No, like I was saying before I got on, I've got a lot been crazy. So just these are the ones that I've watched so far. I'm gonna spend the next week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks going through the rest of the draft picks and all our undrafted guys. And like I said, I'll be putting out those scouting reports. So just stay tuned to Burgundy and GoReport.com.
I appreciate
it's a pleasure, guys.
Has been, Adam.
Thank you.
Yep. Thanks, Adam.
I appreciate you guys taking the bullet for me. As I will not speak anything of maize and disgusting blue. I had to get a ginger ale for this. It's disgusting. I'm sorry.
AJ says Michigan runs an NFL style defense. It immediately at the slot also bring versatility as safety. He ran wide receiver Russell J.B. McCarthy. For real?
Yeah, Adam Peters talked about Adam Peters talked about that right after. He said that he ran the wide receiver routes and actually was like looking like the best wide receiver on the field at the pro day, which really stood out to me in that regard. So, oh my goodness, just because of the athlete that he is. So you're adding somebody who is obviously going to come in here and be able to work with what you have. And when we talk about Dan Quinn and Joe Witt, they want to force turnovers, dude. And if you're able to get the ball in his hands, it's electrifying, and it is a concern for the offense looking forward.
Man, appreciate that, AJ. Appreciate that, buddy. And check out the Trapper Dive podcast too. And Jamal has started his film breakdowns of all of the players, and those are great.
Yeah.
That are awesome.
Yeah.
I need Maul to give me that Rice all 22, man. I had to go.
He ain't giving that up. I tried.
I had to go to like highlights to try to find Luke McCaffrey catches. Man, it was bare.
Maul ain't giving that up, bro.
I know.
Will Coleman get a little? Oh yeah, we're gonna talk about Coleman a little bit.
Let's go ahead.
Easy. Michigan getting too much.
Another one.
Ohio State gets plenty of love. Come on now.
All right, so let's talk about Luke. Let's put Luke up. What we got?
I sent you a couple of videos of what I found on him.
There we go.
Yeah. So it's crazy because Luke was actually a quarterback at Nebraska. I believe 2020, the year of COVID, and he tore Ohio State defense up with the run and everything. Goes to Rice and he converts into a wide receiver. And obviously, we know with the McCaffreys, they have that athletic skill set runs in their family. And McCaffrey, famous one play in Denver with 1 or 2 Super Bowls. And you see some of the same stuff that he could do like his father. Very contested, great contested catcher. Shows some great separation at times. I love the pick. I know a lot of people have a problem with it, but when you're 6'2" and you're able to move like that, he can play the big slot and open some things up for Jahan and Terry McLaurin, and he could be another target that a lot of us have been talking about to attack in the middle of the field. Something that a lot of people had questioned about Jaden Daniels. Now you got two guys that can, when we're attacking the hashes inside the hashes and attack the middle of the field, you have those guys that can get open easily. And Luke, I also see him, be used in the running game. Had 927 yards rushing in his college career. You can see some wildcat. You can see some
This one right here.
jet sweeps. Versatile playmaker. Excited to see him in DC. What do you think about him, Kyle?
You see, like I talked about earlier about hitting the edges, getting to the boundaries, and Luke McCaffrey was the #1 option for this Rice offense. And you could make jokes about Rice's offense, but the fact of the matter is he was utilized. That one highlight you saw earlier, that's on 3rd and 9, and you see him running a simple slant route. You see the footwork being able to shift inside. But grand scheme, when you look at that play, what is Luke McCaffrey hitting right there? He's hitting the middle of the field. And you're talking about Jaden Daniels. People have speculated that Jaden Daniels possibly is not great at hitting the middle of the field. Well, you're adding somebody into the equation who's very good at doing so. You see the footwork to do it. You even saw in that touchdown catch of him having the footwork to get outside leverage and then getting down the field, catching that one-handed pass. He was one of the best wide receivers in contested catch rate. When Orange Crush asked us about a year or so ago, when looking at wide receivers in this pre-draft eval, what's one statistic that you take away more than anything else? And for me, it's contested catches, because in the NFL, there's no guarantee you're going to be the best athlete. So if you're going to have hands in your face, if it's going to be a hard catch, you got to be able to come down with the football. And that's what Luke McCaffrey does. And then you add in the fact that he does use coming off the edges, being able to get the run and coming off that and being able to get upfield on it. He's also incredibly strong. There's one highlight there where he gets a screen pass and he nearly gets knocked to the ground with one hand and one foot, still able to move. We heard Christian McCaffrey talk about how crazy his dad was in saying on game days to not have many a crazy amount of movements because it takes away your energy before the game. Don't get jacked up. Don't be yelling. Don't be running around jumping. Save your energy. And you kind of see that with like the Luke McCaffrey aspect here, where they're utilizing him not only in the pass game but in the run game as well. And then on the outside, being able to block pretty well. So I'm excited about Luke McCaffrey because I think this is a kid that's going to be able to operate in the middle of the field when he does get his chance. Having the contested catches, he's going to produce.
Yeah, and that was a lot of things like what you mentioned about going over the middle, being a bigger target, being able to find spots to be an outlet. He moves, he continues to move even after his route. So when the play may break down or might get some pressure and Jaden is moving around, he can move and find a spot. I think this guy does everything you want for a young quarterback to have. And I know like tight end is the quarterback, a young quarterback's best friend. But when you have a 6'2" slot wide receiver that can also play out of inline and run routes from inline to be able to be a bigger target on the inside, I think that also provides great opportunity and helps with the growth of your young quarterback. So yes, I think. Go ahead, Kyle.
Hey, Deuce, go to the last video I sent you of Luke McCaffrey. It's right above where I said I might be a little bit late. It's like kind of a darker video because for some reason my screen brightness is all the way down. But this kind of epitomizes what Luke McCaffrey brings to you as an offense. So it's a very short, simple route, but you can kind of see the contested catches and then the speed. Here, DB's on him, catches it, and watches speed to get upfield. And then the strength, the yak after the ability, the strength in his lower core, being able to push through those tackles. That's what you're adding here. Somebody with sure hands that can get those contested catches, but also be able to turn upfield in a flash and be able to get you extra yardage when you need it. And that's something that I would say that Jaden Daniels needs. And adding somebody like Austin Eckler, adding into the equation of Brian Robinson, this is another weapon that Jaden Daniels can utilize with him being 6'2", 215 pounds, obviously being on the thinner side. But going against DBs is not as big of a concern as it was before.
Let me see. Oh boy, here we go. See Harry in the building. Go blue. Did drink 2-3 pops tonight. We need DT to drink 2-3 pops tonight. Oh yeah, they call it pops up there. Some say Luke was drafted a bit early, but I like it. But yeah, I do too. And the I think like you could call it a relationship pick, like a percentage of it. You could call it a relationship pick. I mean, he came right out and kind of said it. Adam Peters, when during the phone call, he's like, "Yeah, I talked to your brother 30 minutes ago, blah blah blah." But I still believe that they still did the work. I still believe the scouts still did the film work. It's not like I think a lot of people had him late 4th into the 5th. But we didn't have a 4th. We had the last pick of the 3rd. So, it just depends. But y'all know how I feel about, reaches and all that. If that's your guy, you didn't think he was going to be there in the 4th, you didn't have no desire to trade back into the 4th, go ahead and get him with that comp pick at 100. You trade him for Chase Young. We'll see how that play out in years to come. What's up?
I look at it, Deuce, is like, yeah, you're looking at it with Washington with kind of with a grain of salt, right? But knowing that you're adding Luke McCaffrey, let's just say this is San Francisco. Let's just say it's Miami, who has a very good offense already with what they have to offer. If you're saying that Luke McCaffrey is added into that equation, I guarantee you everybody, the media would be saying, that's an amazing pick, adding that into that offense. Yeah. He doesn't need to be the number one option. He's not going to be your guy on the outside, but he'll be able to operate, take your eyes off. Look at somebody like Puka Nacua, who was not highly coveted going into that draft last season. But given the situation that he's walking into, where somebody like Cooper Kupp is able to take the eyes away from the defense and allow Puka to work underneath and kind of make his stay there with a quarterback that can throw the football, I think that's the way Adam Peters and company are looking at this, where he's not going to be the guy, but being the kind of ghost where he can kind of run in the shadows, so to speak. That is a really crucial, pivotal point. And then adding the work ethic on top of it, the freak of being the athletic mindset of taking care of your body, putting your body in the best situation possible to be able to extend moving forward. That's the type of professional that you want. And that's the kind of psychotic people that the McCaffreys are. That's just an amazing thing to add here to this offense.
Yeah. And just, that's what we talk about. They just saying, it's a bad
Drake
pick. What you say?
Drake just dropped another disc.
Oh, gosh. And Tom Brady is getting cooked. Tom Brady, he is getting cooked. I mean, my goodness. But yeah, a lot of people do think that, that was a bad pick. It was better wide receivers on the board. But that's to our film study. That's to your film study. That's to the big boards. But if they believe that this guy was, better than the other guys that was on the board, or he fit better, and the little relationship did play a part. So we can't pretend like it didn't. We know it did. So if those other guys, I think Roman Wilson was still on the board. I think what's the other kid? I think he went to Baltimore.
Tez Walker.
Yeah, I know Tez was on the board. I'm thinking about somebody else though.
I
know Roman was. It was somebody else. I can't remember.
Malachi Corley. Brendan Rice.
No, he went early. Well, Brendan Rice went. Yeah, he was still on the board too. But if they wasn't Javon Baker, that's who it was, Javon Baker.
Yeah.
So if they, and that's DT man. So if they didn't do enough, or they wasn't if they didn't grade them that much higher than Luke, then the relationship definitely played a part, and they took him because it wasn't that much of a difference to them. This is to them and their scouts. They know what they want. They know what they need out of a player, different things like that. So
just looked it up. So Wilson went 84. So a lot of those guys were gone before we got to 100.
So one Roman. It was somebody I know Javon Baker. I know Braden Rice, Tez, but it was some. I thought it was one. I was thinking of Javon Baker for sure. And Tez, Javon Baker. It was somebody else. It was like 3 receivers.
A lot of people talking about Brandon Rice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Brandon Rice,
he was
for
he was at his friend's funeral for the draft. Wasn't even sitting around waiting for the call. He was at his friend's funeral. But
Yeah.
just goes to show, shout out to Brendan Rice, man. That is a good
For
freaking
sure.
dude, man.
For sure. Hey, Mitch. What's good, dude? Luke is a legit dude. What's up, Mitch? Is a legit dude, can catch some big time plays down. Yeah.
One thing for Luke, though, I do want to put this caveat in there. I did when watching his games, the quarterback play
That's
was
who it
atrocious.
was. Troy Franklin.
The
That's who it
quarterback
was.
play was atrocious at Rice. We
Thank
do
you.
have to put that in there. I watched some of the, like, even going to their backup quarterback, dude, they were like air mailing 10, 20 yards above his head a lot of the times. And so when the ball is accurate on his hands, he's catching it. So the quarterback play was not the best. And you're saying that he's going from the Rice quarterback to Jaden Daniels. I think that you can realistically say that his production should be able to increase just a little bit more.
Yeah, and I think to Mitch's point, I think he led the nations tied with Roma Dunze for contested catches.
Yep.
And that's something that Terry knows. But the
Mhm.
only thing I don't like about contested catches is, to me, that's telling me that the quarterback play is horrible, right? Like a lot of those contested catches that Terry got was because of poor quarterback play. You know, he beating people deep, but they got to come back for the ball, different things like that. But it's also just thinking about it and watching one of those catches that you put up. It's also being able to catch the football catch when you're being crowded. Like that matters a lot too, because in the NFL you got to be able to get it into a spot, and sometimes that's a very small window to do that. And some wide receivers, they can't take a lot of contact before the ball get there and have enough focus to still catch the pass. But Luke has shown that he can at that level.
And I do think that
feel it's
situation goes a lot into it, Deuce, because
Mhm.
I think, yes, you could say Javon Baker and other guys, but do they translate to the slot in the pros? And I think that's what this coaching staff, this scouting department was kind of looking at with Luke McCaffrey, saying he fits with what we want to do and being able to be that ghost running through the shadows, operating in the middle of the field. It helps us out a lot more because do we necessarily need a number one, number two? And I think that this staff might be looking at our wide receivers as not so much as a detriment, but more so of saying we're really excited to get them working with Jaden Daniels, and we need to add somebody else underneath long term to help with that. I know that you can always do better, but like I said last season, Puka Nacua was not highly coveted coming out of that draft. And throughout the season, based on the situation he was put in, then his production and his eval really increased by a lot.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I knew it was two. It was Javon Baker and Troy Franklin. I knew Roman was around it because I heard some people saying made it, trade up to get him. Yeah, man, you smoke. Yeah, I mean, we and I know people say like we need more weapons, but I mean, how many more weapons we need? We had Terry, we had Jahan, but a lot of people is not as high on Jahan as they were after his rookie year because of the down year. But again, I kind of ask, how much of coaching, because like a lot of us put a lot of the failures of last year on coaching. So if that's the case, are you going to kind of give someone like Jahan a small pass in that sense, because of coaching plays that was called, different things like that? So it's a lot. You just got to kind of, you can't think one way and don't apply it to another way just because of a point. Yep, he fell to the 7th round. Yep. What's up, Unc? What's up, Mo? How you doing, man? How you doing, buddy? All right, so let's go to let's talk about. I don't think we have anything for Coleman, but let's talk about Coleman a little bit. So my understanding is that he moved the guard because of an injury in 2022. Is that right, Kyle?
I've heard something of the sort. When you look at his 2022 film, it's a lot better. I went back and watched him versus Georgia in the national championship game. He held his own. He did give up 1 sack in that game, but obviously going against Georgia's front seven, that's not like saying it's a detriment at all to him. But it was a fantastic play where he's hand fighting with the DN, and the DN at the end is able to knock his hands down and get around him. But he didn't start playing football until his senior year in high school. And he played and started for 3 years there at TCU. So you're saying this is somebody with a very high athletic upside who has just started in the league, but also has a sky's the limit for him because of how young he is and the build that he has, being 6'4", 320, 330. So you're looking at him saying you really like this guy. But what the most important thing that impressed me the most about him in that Georgia game is that they actually moved him to right tackle because somebody had gotten injured for 4 plays. Then they took him away from right tackle and put him back to left tackle for the remainder of the game. When he was at right tackle, I actually really liked his footwork. He looked like a right tackle. He actually did a very good job at it. And so not only has he played left tackle, not only has he played right tackle, but also he played left guard in 2023 because of that injury. You could say that lower half, because his footwork was not as where it should be. It's very choppy, very shallow. And DT, you know this, in your drop step, you need to be able to be athletic. You need to be able to have that movement to move backwards, to be able to get and match the depth of the defensive end and their speed. And I think that having the RAS score that he does, the athleticism that he does, he offers you the ability to be able to attack the edges, to attack the boundaries of the defense, and honestly help this offense get to where they need to go. So the good thing about him is he has a high floor, because if he doesn't work out at left tackle, try him at right tackle. Doesn't work out at right tackle, you slide him in at guard, and he'll be productive for you there. So I think at first I was poo-pooing the Brandon Coleman pick, but I had to put my pride aside and look at it kind of in a subjective way. And just looking at how he is overall, I think this is a very good selection. And I've always said this, I want my offensive linemen to have a bent finger. I want them to play hurt and just be a tough sons of guns. And that's what Brandon Coleman did in 2023. He battled through an injury. He didn't sit out. He battled through it, and they even moved him in the guard where they needed him to. So I love hard hat workers, blue collar workers, and that's what Brandon Coleman seems to be at this moment in time. And so I will trust this offensive line coach and this offensive line altogether. And I think the one cool thing about OG Bobby Johnson is that he has a lot of experience coaching offensive lines with mobile quarterbacks, with Josh Allen and Daniel Jones. Now adding Jaden Daniels to the mix, he has a lot of experience with those kind of offensive lines and gearing them up to be able to help the quarterback be able to run.
Yeah, I agree. And when you let me see, when you think of OG Bobby Johnson, a lot of people, like, I was very skeptical of the hire. Right, it's not great reviews and Giants and Buffaloes, and not just coaching. Is a whole lot that goes into it. But I'm not as concerned as others because of we have I just forgot his name that fast. You just named him. The passing game coordinator. The run game coordinator.
Anthony Lynn?
Anthony Lynn. I forgot his name that fast. Because of Anthony Lynn, because of the tight ends coach, just because of Brian Johnson. Like, we have those guys in there that's familiar with and they understand the position. So because we have them, I'm a little more comfortable with the hire of Bobby Johnson. I'm not as concerned. I don't think they're going to put people out there that shouldn't be out there just because. I think they're going to put the best 5 out there at the best spots out there. I'm very confident that they'll do that. What's up, James? Right off, looking back at it, TCU had a very good O-line. I like the Coleman pick. What you think about the Coleman pick, DT?
So obviously a lot of people were bashing the pick because it wasn't one of the top tier guys. But when you're looking at a deep offensive line class, you're definitely going to be looking at some tackles outside the top tier guys that are going to need a little bit of development. And with Brandon Coleman, I think for him, there are definitely some things he could work on because he hasn't played football as much. But the high character, the long arms, the athletic traits that he has, and you watch the 2022 tape when he played on that national championship runner-up team in TCU, playing up against Michigan when he's going against Mike Morris from Michigan majority of the time. When you're playing against Georgia and the defensive lineman they have, then you go to 2023 and you're being shifted to guard because of injuries and stuff. You're still showing the athletic ability to play both of those positions at a high rate. But I love the 2022 film with him at left tackle. I believe he can be a tackle in this league. Now, with OG Bobby Johnson, will it be the competition with Cornelius Lucas and Coleman? I think they probably want to ease him in and maybe even have some plays such as, with Cliff Kingsbury. He likes to have a tackle and an unbalanced look at certain points in the game. The ease Coleman in the NFL and stuff like that. We can see some stuff like that until he becomes LT in the future. I think, to me, he can be the left tackle of the future. It's all about him putting in the work and all about OG Bobby Johnson developing his game and being better than he was today, the next week and week afterwards. But I like the Coleman pick. adding something that needs to be added to the offensive line room, and you still have Cornelius Lucas. He's a solid guy that can play 12 to 15 games for you.
And I will say this, I was on the radio with AWOD the other day, and I honestly believe this. Jordan Morgan was really good at being able to play left guard or tackle, just moving him there, being the athletic kind of tackle. And that's what everyone wanted, it, myself included, the top end of the second round. Well, because of that injury this season, the lack of production, you could say, so to speak, being the elite kind of tackle, as it kind of brought him down a little bit playing through that injury. But I'd be willing to say healthy, he reminds you a lot of Jordan Morgan. I think he actually is better than Jordan Morgan, and we got him in the third round, just to put it in perspective.
James says, yeah, he liked the TCU line. What's up, D Brown? Salute everyone in the chat. What's going on? So our next guy we want to look at is, and more and more film is going to come out. Just be sure, like Adam already told you about, he's going to be putting in work over the next few weeks without draft picks and undrafted. You sure Kyle will. And you'll hear me and DT talking about a lot of it on the pod, but those two guys is specifically going to be doing workup on them. But let's go into Jordan McGee. Like Jordan McGee, if anyone in the chats want to say anything about him, I just watched a couple of highlights. I didn't watch any games yet of him. I'm going to take a week at a time, so I might not get to him until June. But what do you guys have anything on Jordan McGee?
6'1", 228 pounds, athlete. And I honestly think the only thing that needs to be said about Jordan McGee for anybody to actually have confidence in him is the fact that Ken Norton is excited to coach him. And
Yeah.
I respect the hell out of Ken Norton. I think a lot of us do as well. And given that, I think this is a great pick. We've heard people say possibly looks like Fred Warner, so to speak. He looks like Dre Greenlaw. I'm not going to go that far. But in all of his movements, laterally, moving forward, backward, you see the explosion. You see the speed. And I love the way that he plays football, because I'm not going to lie to you. I'm kind of an ass on the football field. I like to talk crap a lot. And that's what Jordan McGee likes to do. If a guy, he just tackles a guy, he's up in his ear hole, he's talking something to him. And that's the kind of aggressiveness. That's the kind of mentality that we have been missing for a very long time here. Like Trent Williams walking and punching Richard Sherman in the face type attitude. And that's what Jordan McGee is going to bring to this defense, coupled with the fact that we have Bobby Wagner here, and you're saying, hey, man, can you help this young man just kind of get him up to speed with everything? I think sky's the limit for Jordan McGee. Coming from Temple, it was hard to find a lot of film on him. One thing is he's violent, he's fast, and he talks a lot of crap, so I like him a lot.
Yeah, this is definitely one of those prospects. I had a hard time trying to find some games and stuff on, because probably based on the conference. And I really didn't know much about McGee. But when you see first couple of clips about him, I just think about instincts and get into your goal point. And I think for him, when you see him getting drafted in the round he was drafted, immediately I think about Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw. That's a lot of expectations. Not saying he's going to be that, but when you have a guy like Bobby Wagner and you have a coach like Ken Norton Jr. and you see an entirely new revamped linebacker room, you can have McGee learn from the best of the best and even learn from Frankie Louvu. So I think for him, he's going to be mainly on special teams, but like everybody was hyping up the pick. Even Charles Davis said, I expect him to be starting in 1 to 2 years. I would not be shocked if he's starting probably somewhere down the line of the season, because let's remember this. Bobby Wagner, when he came from Seattle, he did not play a lot of third down snaps based on his age and where he's at in his career. Don't be surprised if McGee is getting those snaps on defense, bro. Like, I think McGee is going to be that steal of the draft. We're going to have to give Adam credit for what he learned from the 49ers.
And don't discount him as a blitzer as well. They did a very good job being able to utilize him in the middle, being able to rush over those guards and centers. And he has a very good bull rush. He's a strong kid, and he is not afraid of contact. And so when you're talking about Dan Quinn and Joe Witt, what they kind of like to do in Dallas, they're sending people at your face. They're trying to create as much chaos as possible. And to your point on third down, that is a great a great down to be able to send some dogs loose on you. And Jordan McGee with his speed and athleticism and strength and violence, that's another piece you do have to account for. So I would say you can this season, I'd say you can see him making some big plays in the backfield.
And we got to remember, like, Dre Greenlaw and Fred Warner wasn't Dre Greenlaw and Fred Warner, right?
Right.
It's going to be better than James has ever been.
Wholeheartedly agree, Unc. Wholeheartedly agree.
Franklin for one. All right, man. Let's get ready to wrap it up. Dominique Hampton. You guys have anything on the Washington guy? Just watching MPJ. You kind of get glimpses of him for the Washington Huskies defense. But what do you have on him, Kyle?
6'2", 215 pounds. I think he's been in college for 6 years, so he's the Van
he's
Wilder.
Yeah,
he's the Van Wilder of that Washington defense, and he honestly plays like he led their team with 109 tackles, 2 interceptions, 7 pass breakups. But the one thing that really jumps out to you about Dominique Hampton, he has 33 arms, which is insane. That's kind of what you would be looking at for like a offensive lineman type way. And you see it on film. He does a good job versus tight ends. In one-on-one coverage, he does kind of be a little bit, but he has a good instinct of how to play the defense. And obviously he comes up and plays the tackle very well. Probably not the best game in the world to watch is that national championship game, just because that Washington defense got
Washington players. Don't if you doing tape review on them, none of them. You should watch that game.
They got bludgeoned to death on the ground, and that was tough to watch. But he is somebody who has that long arms and kind of reminds you of that J-Ron Curse kind of build and setup of what they would like to do out of a safety. And so I think with Dominic Hampton, you're looking at a special teamer. So Larry Izzo and company, they're probably very excited to get this guy in their hands. And, obviously we have Jeremy Reeves. So Jeremy Reeves can obviously take him under his wing and help him a little bit. But I think Dominic Hampton has the skill set, the athleticism to really help at the next level. A 4.5 140, 39-inch vert, and a 10.2 broad. So he has that kind of explosion to help you out a little bit. And he has the size, the length of the arms to be able to help you in a moment's notice. Let's say on a deep play, long third down, he's somebody who come in and help you.
Yeah, and he's a high special teams guy too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So with Hampton, I definitely said the same thing. Immediately when you see the measurables 6'2", 6'3", 220 pounds, I think about K-Ron Curse when he was with the Dallas Cowboys. I also like his game as well. I think the problem has been when you see Washington, only people are watching Washington for the offense, and everybody watching for the defense. They had Braylon Trice. They had a couple guys up there, but they were always had to stop teams putting 30 to 40 points on you. But this guy has the measurables. He has the ability. He also played corner when he was at Washington. So he has some versatility in there. And what Joe Witt and them he can be a part of that 3 safety rotation, some depth right there. Special teams would definitely be a point for him. But I think for year 2, conversation will be probably had about, because the fact of Derek Forrest is in his last year, more than likely. I don't know what they think about him, but that's definitely something to keep an eye on. A lot of these picks, they're drafting for the long term, because now that linebacker and a safety is like, okay, these guys are going to come up with contracts. I didn't draft you. Let's see how you do in this defense, and we'll consider we give you some cash or we'll let you walk.
Island of Misfit Toys, DT. This is what this is all about. And don't sleep on Dominic Hampton's hips. Very smooth hips and being able to trail guys on verts and seam routes and stuff like that. Very underrated. Did not get targeted a heck of a whole lot in that regard. Usually if they were going deep, it wasn't on his guy. Did see him get turned around a little bit. Does have a little bit of heavy feet. One play, I forget what team it was, but the quarterback juked him out of his shoes. And no disrespect to him, it's just sometimes he does have heavy feet, and you can kind of see that in the 4.51. But this is a guy that you're looking for long term. This is somebody you can feel comfortable with.
All right. JJB. What nickname did you give him, Kyle? JJB ain't gonna work for me.
It's not gonna work for you. I'll think of one for you. The one thing about JJB, he doesn't pop off at you as a speed rusher that somebody is getting out to the quarterback like a heat-seeking missile. His real bread and butter is against the run and being able to nullify stuff stopping guys from getting where they want to go and just being a cog in that sort of regard. But he works his butt off, and he's going to continue to work. You'll see it here in these plays where right now against Caleb, everyone knows if you go back and watch a Caleb Williams film against Notre Dame's plan against him was absolutely beautiful. And here you see him getting his hand up on the speed rush, timing it, getting his hand up and being able to knock it down. He 6'5", 239 pounds, ran a 4.66, 34.5-inch vert, a 10.7 broad. So an explosive first step that you can obviously see. 49 tackles this season, 10.5 tackles for loss, which led the team, 5 sacks and 1 forced fumble. Here you see the kind of motor that he has coming in here, spinning off of that, being able to come onto the quarterback and force the incompletion and be able to knock the quarterback down. That's probably the best play I saw him as a pass rusher.
He was at 3 technique on that play, right?
Yep. And he does move up in that regard. He does come from the 5. He does come from the 3, going against guards and then going against tackles. But this is the play. Watch number 70. So he's number 1. Look at the pad level. Look at the leverage. Stopping him completely and pushing him back to stop that on the goal line. I'm pretty sure this is the type of play that they saw looking at the 7th round saying, I can work with that. Because he shows you the flashes sometimes in the pass rush, we already know at the floor level that he can come in and help against the run, but we can kind of help him in the pass rush repertoire, being able to get him used to be able to rush the passer with his hand usage and others. I like Jean-Baptiste a lot coming from Notre Dame. You know what kind of player you're going to get with him, but right here is just stopping the run is his bread and butter. A very, very smart player and being able to use his body and use the offensive lineman as a wall, saying, I know you're not going to go outside because I'm pushing the tackle that way, and being able to come back inside to where you want to go. Very smart player in that regard. So the floor is high for JJB.
Yeah, former Ohio State player, transferred out of Ohio State due to the amount of talent at defensive and defensive line overall. Also wanted to work more on his pass rushing game. He was always the type that was still struggling with the bend and sometimes some type of hand placement. So that's what he had to do when he went to Notre Dame. Career high in sacks and tackles for loss in a mostly true starting role. Definitely see the run stuffing ability. He'll be immediate right there. And one thing you can say about this regime and this coaching staff, they have a eye for what type of player they want. And you see the measurables of Jean-Baptiste. I see, not talk about playing ability, but I see guys like DeMarcus Lawrence. I see even a guy like Dorrance Armstrong that we just signed in terms of what he could do moving around on the defensive line. So he'll be a guy that will be in the same room with KJ Henry and my boy Jones. And we'll see how that room pans out, because also a lot of you guys that we signed outside of Dorrance are on 1-year deals. So you'll have a guy that will be developed in this defense and hone his skills.
I can't wait. This is this guy. And just like what you talked about, because he played with Chase, right? Because he's a 5th-year senior too, right?
Yeah, he played with Chase Young and a lot of these guys.
Baller.
Yes, he has the experience, and it seemed like with a lot of those guys. Hold on a second.
It switched your microphone.
Yeah, there we go. I'm back.
There you go.
Nigga radar, fuck out legend. Big Sim said put him at left tackle. All right, okay, Big Sim. But that's our draft. I mean, anybody drafted players we put up y'all want to talk about? I mean, not undrafted.
AJ Woods, he's from Germantown. I thought that he might have gone to QO. He actually went to my wife's high school at Northwest. So I'm always going to root for AJ Woods. I think that he's somebody that could obviously help. I watched a little bit on him. Very, very raw, but a fast cornerback that can come in and help. And then Chris Carter's boy, Sam Hartman. I think just adding him into the room here. I know everyone's fan favorite in Jake Fromm, State Farm. I think that he's good to go out the door. I think Sam Hartman has the work ethic and somebody that the Notre Dame coaches really, really like. They also brought in Bo Bauer, a linebacker who actually, I don't think he came out in this draft. I think he came out in last year's draft and wasn't picked up. but he's a special teams guy himself. That was very highly coveted coming out of that Notre Dame team, that a special teams cat. So you're seeing a plan put in place, and you're seeing he had a high athletic score. I think his RAS was a 9.61. Bo Bowers was. So I think the MO of what this front office likes to do is in the back end of the draft, they like getting high motor, very good athletes that have a good mind and good head on their shoulders that are smart. And I think in the whole grand scheme of this draft, that's what you're kind of seeing.
All right, two guys that I like from the undrafted pool. I'll start off first with the kid from Colorado State. What's his name?
Do it.
Anuzi. I'll say Anuzi. The kid from Colorado State. They signed some big bucks to him. Good measurables, about 6'1", 6'2". Can look like he can play press. I like his game. Definitely be someone that will be in the cornerback room. Also, my wide receiver is Marcus Roseby Jackson, wide receiver out of Georgia. I like his game as well. Definitely could be someone competing for probably the 6th or 7th spot.
Tyler Owens, we got to throw that name in there. He said people, flat earthers, bring up good points. Said he doesn't believe in space or planets. I want to talk to this guy, man. I feel like he's gonna be a blast to have in that room. But no, he's 6'2", 215 pounds. It kind of has that build. We talked about the kind of build up of a corner that this defensive staff likes, and obviously he fits the bill in that regard. But you're seeing them add high value athletes here that you're going to come in and compete. I'm not going to guarantee that any guys are going to make the roster, but we do have to talk about my boy Noel Pollard, the defensive tackle from Virginia Tech, 6 foot, 281 pounds. Obviously does need to add a little bit of weight there, but the one thing you can guarantee with Virginia Tech players is that the defensive line is going to come ready to play. Daryl Tapp being the defensive line coach or helping in that regard.
I be forgetting we got him.
Yeah, like, we're loaded, man. We're absolutely loaded.
Crazy. We got a staff, man. But that's our draft class. Some undrafted free agents, like I say, everyone, the descriptions and the ats and the handles and all that is in the description. More and more is going to come out. We're going to be tweeting them. I'm going to ask the guys if I could cut it up like we were doing prior and put it out. Also, so we kind of keep that going as we try to fill this space that's coming up with some Commanders football. But we definitely appreciate all of you hanging there with us on Sunday nights this off season and supporting us and engaging in the conversation and the chats and all those different types of things. We definitely appreciate you all. Ken Johansson, we appreciate you for starting out with us, to getting us on the ball rolling with all that great information that you have for us. Go ahead, Kyle. You about to say something?
Yeah, I just want to send off here. I felt like a disservice here because we did not give a shout out to Chase Radar, who brought up Johnny Newton at first. And he actually asked me how I felt about him. I watched him a little bit. I was like, dude, this kid is electric. I didn't watch all the way through, but Chase deserves credit because I've told him before, dude, you have the eye. You know what you're looking at. I trust what the heck you're looking at now. You know what you're doing. But in all, DT, very impressive with what you've done with the film evals, your own, obviously being an Ohio State fan yourself, but knowing college football coming in here with us, you did a great job of doing so. Deuce, coming up with this idea was amazing. Not only just what we've done here, just the community itself. I think it's full of amazing people. Not the group chat, very supportive. And it's awesome to see the passion, because you kind of talked about it before, how I think the Washington is very unique in the sense that I don't think any other fan base truly offers what this fan base does. And they're so passionate, so hungry just for more talk, just to be able to talk about their favorite team and who could be added here. And it really is beautiful to see all together, because you see people that honestly just care about one another, that want to help, that want to talk, and it's not like a selfish thing. So I think everyone, like even people commenting in here, I find that to be a beautiful thing, that people are coming in here on a Sunday night, taking time out of their day just to be able to watch and support you, Deuce, and the show. It's an amazing thing to be a part of. And it truly was an honor to come on here, to be in the presence of Adam, doing these film breakdowns, being able to diagnose these players and seeing who was selected and not. It truly was an honor and a blessing to be able to be here with you boys and with everyone watching. It really was cool, man. I hope we get to do it again.
Yep. Yeah, man. Chase is different. Like they call him the Google machine. Like like you can ask him about a player 4 years ago that was third on the depth chart. Like he'll know exactly who it is and send you stuff on him. And he just has this thing with it. That's why he don't want us to see his face. I honestly believe he works in football somewhere. Like seriously, like he's probably a burner account for like, I don't know, one of them guys. I don't like a Mel Kiper or one. Like he's probably a burner account. I think we heard him talk once, maybe twice. So like it's crazy, man. And of course, DT, like I always say, that's why Kyle led off with, you know, the film review from Chase and Adam and DT and Deuce. Thank you for putting together, because they know, like, when it comes to college football, I just copy off their stuff. Like that's just what I do. I just copy off of all their stuff, and I'm a proud to admit it.
It's because you're so busy organizing everything that you do. You
Right,
got 30 different show deuces. Like you have so many people relying on you, and you're able to move all these things around, Deuce. And honestly, man, I've told you this before. I think you could be even better than what anybody else has produced out here. I talked to you early on about this, man, and you really have produced it. You've done it with a smile on your face. You had a lot of fun. You haven't shown any animosity towards anybody. You've done a great job of just building something that's fun. Yeah, except for blue people. They don't deserve they don't deserve it anyway, Deuce. I mean, come on now.
But yeah, for sure, man. Big shout out, man. A lot of those guys that do this tape work. You got Telly, you got Mitty that also puts in the work. They know so much, and we got people on the team like Lady E and Henry and Dre. Like, they just know it. So I don't need to do it. I could just copy off of their stuff and be proud of it. But DT, what you got?
Man, look, I ain't got nothing. I'm on vacation.
This Vader is insane.
I'll see y'all next week, because I'm gonna enjoy myself. Hey man, I'm gonna just say this for advice. When you got the time, treat yourself. True. Life is short. I'm here for a good time, not a long time. So anytime you work hard for something and you put it into work, have some time to yourself. Don't try to, overwork yourself. Don't let anxiety and overthinking take over your life, because that stuff is just otherworldly. Have time for yourself, for your loved ones, and that's what I'm doing right now. But I'm going to still be watching y'all content on the low, but I'm going to spend some time with someone and some people. So I'm definitely
someone.
Yeah.
And I will say this, Slim is one of the funniest people that I've come across on this app. I mean,
Slim's hands down funny. Yeah,
dude, he's like Chris Rock level, man, Dave Chappelle level, where he just says funny stuff. It just makes me laugh all day long.
Yeah, shout out, man. A lot of people and everyone for their support, man. Everybody in the chats. Appreciate y'all. What's that? Is that Darryl Green? I don't know, man. Is that Darryl Green? What's up, DG? Definitely appreciate you stopping by. Yeah, man, like all the support is definitely welcome. Like earlier, actually, we're gonna have a scheduled release show on Thursday. We're gonna have a scheduled prediction show on Wednesday. My wife coming home, she was like, are you gonna have a scheduled release party? I was like, oh. So now, like, this content creation stuff is now part of the family. Like, it's a part of the family now. That was confirmation, so I'm definitely excited. And on Tuesday, Command Time, the final boss is appearing to the Command Time on Tuesday, 7:00. I will be the special host while DT is with his is his lady. If y'all follow him, go search his Twitter and you can see what she looks like. It's right there. She's a beautiful young lady. She's right there. So spend your time. But the final boss will be on Command Time on Tuesday at 7:00. So definitely tap in. Everybody in the comments, we definitely appreciate everybody that's watching, everybody that's listening. We know your time is very valuable for you to spend it with us. We definitely appreciate it. Remember, do it because you love it, not because it loves you. One beat, one sound, one heart, one love.